Goal Getting Podcast, episode 12. It's time for Goal Getting Podcast, and I'm your host, Tony Woodall. Welcome back, and I'm sorry, please ignore this for a moment. I always do. Just don't pay him any attention. It's just my subconscious mind. Do you hear those nagging thoughts and limiting beliefs when you're working on your goals? Is your subconscious mind trying to sabotage your success? Do you want to change those limiting beliefs and negative goal-sucking thoughts from your mind? Well, don't let your mind play goalie for the other team. Get the goals you set. Goal Getting Podcast teaches you how to turn those negative, limiting beliefs in your subconscious mind into positive, goal-setting, goal-getting, success-thinking beliefs with the goal-getting, don't just set 'em, get 'em program. Kick the crap to the curb and get your mind playing for your team. Let's listen to this week's episode and get the goals you set. Hello, goal getters. This is Tony Woodall, your host with Goal Getting Podcast. We have a special treat today. This is the first of our interviews with guests on Goal Getting Podcast. Our goal is to bring you guests that can help you achieve goals that you might have set. Today's guest is Jared Lichtin, and he'll tell you about his journey and his episodes that he has on Flip with Jared Lichtin, the flipping podcast that is ranking number one in new and noteworthy in the investing category in business. He is really rocking it on his podcast, and we are pleased to have him as a guest. So I'm going to be quiet and let you listen to Jared Lichtin and his interview today. So let's have a great time listening to Jared Lichtin. Good morning, goal getters. This is Tony Woodall, your host with Goal Getting Podcast, and I've got on the show today Jared Lichtin. Jared is a 28-year-old former lawyer, now full-time real estate investor and house flipper. Jared's the host of Flip with Jared Lichtin, a great podcast that I listen to. He's got great high energy, very exciting, and I'm glad to have you on the show, Jared. How are you doing today? Are you ready to help people get the goals they set, and are you a goal getter?
Absolutely, Tony. I definitely am, and I just want to point out I still technically am an attorney, but I just quit the law practice for a while.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like being a Marine. You're never over being a Marine. You're always a Marine, but you're always a lawyer unless you get disbarred. And
absolutely.
I don't think that'll happen. So
nope, I am still a lawyer in the great state of Texas. So
wonderful.
Yep.
Now are you from Texas originally? Because I know you're not in Texas now, so.
Well, when we get into my story, you can understand a little better how I got. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Went to law school in Houston, Texas, and then after law school, coincidentally, I got a job back in Northeast Ohio, where all the fracking and the oil and gas stuff was going on. So that's kind of how I got back home, and now I think me and my girlfriend are probably moving back to Houston. So,
gotcha. Well, let's talk about what you're doing. And one of the things with goal getters, I often talk about, when we start growing up, we always have a dream or a goal or something that we want to be when we grow up. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, Tony, I thought about this question a lot when you said you'd ask it to me, and I think that goals and aspirations, just like I guess when you're building a business, they kind of adapt and change over time. So if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up when I was like 8 or 9, I would say like policeman, fireman, doctor. Like I didn't really know what the other options were. But as I went through high school, I got to see that there were definitely other ways than the conventional lawyer, doctor, teacher kind of thing. And in high school, I had an internship that it was at like a shipping dock, basically. But the guy, he was selling batteries of all things, but he also had like a very, very big eBay business. And he sold like drum mutes and drum kits, stuff that he had like made and patented. And he was making I was doing his invoices, and it's like $15,000-$20,000 a month in profit. So I figured there's got to be other ways to do this stuff. And I really learned that the internet has just opened up so many doors and avenues for people to just create something for themselves, and that the conventional job is really just I look at it as more couple $1,000s a month, whatever you can do to make that and be happy, that's fine. Couple $100s a month if you want to go to Latin America and volunteer and if that makes you happy, like all more power to you, like if that's your passion. But if you ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, as a kid, I guess I saw my dad. He's a doctor and he was really passionate about what he did. People respected him for it and he worked really hard. So I probably would have said doctor, but as life evolved and I couldn't get a C in chemistry, then I figured that wasn't the path for me.
Gotcha. So you obviously didn't become a doctor. You became a lawyer and now a flipper for houses. Why don't you tell the audience about your story? I first heard you on your Flip with Jared Lichtin podcast, and it was an exciting story. So let's tell a little bit about what you did and how you achieved that goal that you're now doing.
Well, Tony, so I took the bar exam right after I graduated law school in 2012, and right away I started working. I got a job at a big law firm. I was a small fish in a big pond. And over the last, 2 years, I figured out that at least that lifestyle, like I said, I definitely am happy that I have my law degree and that I could always go back to doing something that has something to do with that. But I was miserable at the big law firm. I was not happy staring at a computer screen and drafting basically mineral title opinions, helping the oil companies frack for natural gas in Appalachia. And it wasn't like the political side of it. It was just more I was doing monotonous work that was like I just felt like a cog in a machine, and they could have just hired somebody else to do exactly what I'm doing and trained them in a couple months. So I was lucky enough to have the type of job, though, even though it had a lot of travel, too. So I was in the car like sometimes over 15, 20 hours a week, because sometimes every day I was heading from Northeast Ohio down to just remote counties to abstract title in the courthouse. So like Noble County, Ohio is almost 2 hours from my house. And so I had a lot of time in my car to absorb audio content or podcasts. And basically I was listening to, I'm sure you know, Entrepreneur on Fire, podcasts that some other people might not know of, like Jeff Sanders' 5 a.m. Miracle, about daily routines and getting up early and taking care of yourself. There's tons of great podcasts. I could keep going on and on, but overall, I got the opportunity to absorb entrepreneurial podcasts while working. And my headphones were in, and I was able to understand that there are unconventional ways that people made money and all that. But step back a little bit. I was in law school, 2011, 2012. I found a website called Bigger Pockets. And for anyone out there who hasn't heard of biggerpockets.com, it's a real estate investors network. It's kind of like a Facebook for, really, it is. It's Facebook for real estate investors. And there's so much free resources on there, and it's really easy to network. So right when I got back to Cleveland and started working at the big law firm, I started flipping houses. It was not easy in the beginning, but I had a good contractor who was able to help me through that. So I did a couple a year. Basically, I'm on like technically my 5th one right now. There's a couple in there that went crazy. But it was like the last 2 years, and I picked up another house that I got for a really good price in December 2014. And sorry, I said long story short, but basically I knew I was going to make money about it. So I was miserable about my job. I said, screw it. I'm quitting. I'm sick of this crap. Like, I'm being treated like a dog at work. I'm sick of bowing to the corporate gods and like just being treated the way I am just because I'm young and new. So I quit my job on February 6th, and I started podcasting about my real estate investing and haven't looked back.
Wow, that's exciting. And from listening to your podcast and hearing the energy in your voice and the way you are a real action-oriented person, taking action and getting things done, I just can't imagine seeing you behind a desk and in a title office, doing research like that. Similar kind of attitude. I just have a hard time sitting behind a desk. And I originally studied programming and thought I'd be a programmer, but realized I couldn't sit back and just vegetate behind a computer.
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, I knew for sure 100%, especially the last 6 months I was working there, I knew I wasn't maximizing my potential. I knew that I could get fired at any moment. I knew that I wasn't happy. My my mental stress turned into physical stress. It affected my relationships personally and like with my my family and my friends, and I wasn't happy. I mean, like I told them when I told the attorney who was overseeing me when I quit, I told him to his face, I'm like, man, you could double my salary right now and I'd still have the same decision.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's how bad it was.
Yeah, that's one of the keys. When you talk in goal setting and defining your goals, one of the things we talk about is knowing your why. And if you were to say, what your why is for what you do now, why you made that decision, what would that be? Is it be finding the right happiness and being happy with your job, or what would you call your why that you do what you do?
Why is I do like the house flipping, or why did I quit my job?
A little bit of both. Why did you decide that you wanted to go that route instead of maintaining that corporate presence?
Well, I think it's all about freedom, and there was a lot of freedoms that I didn't have at work that I kind of didn't realize when I was in that. I've put it this way in other podcasts. Like, if you like something like candy and then you don't eat candy for a month, you're going to be like, oh man, like I forgot what it was like to like have candy. So I think when you're in that corporate environment, you're stripped of so many, like you can't say what you want. You can't do what you want. You can't take 4 days off and just go to Vegas. Like I sometimes do, but like that's a little irresponsible for a normal person. But I think that you're just so restricted to like say the right things and do the right things. And, you work overtime when they say, oh, well, you got to work hard, and there are people getting fired every week, and it's not a good environment. So, why I did what I did. I mean, the house flipping was really a way for me to create cash flow in the beginning. But as it moved on and on, I realized that, I can make money on the side doing this, because about 90% of the house flipping was automated. Mm-hmm. I found the deals, and I knew my market. So my contractor was the one fixing up the houses. I did some sweat equity, like stripping wallpaper, but for the most part, contractors did all the work, agents did all the selling. I kind of sat back and just coordinated. I was a people manager.
Right.
So it was a way for me to create cash flow on the side. So I knew that if something went south of my job, or if just something happened, I would always have that as a way to make money. And I've always made money on the side. After that internship I told you about in high school, I went to Home Depot right after I started, and I fixed pieces together to make beer bongs, and I sold beer bongs on eBay for like 4 or 5 months, I think. And I was like 15, and I've sold t-shirts, I've, electronics on eBay. It's just,
you're basically an entrepreneurial person, and, serial entrepreneur, it sounds like. So
yeah, kind of. I mean, like I go through phases where I'm like, oh, this would be a really good idea, or this would. And certainly now that I quit my job, you've no idea how much time, if you haven't quit your job, or if you haven't been outside the corporate environment, how much work you can get done in a day. Mm-hmm. Like you might work 16, 18, 19 hours, but first of all, you're working for yourself. So any money you make is going right in your pocket.
Right.
And like you're just generally happier, and you can get more stuff done.
Right.
So why I did it, I would say the freedom, freeing up my time for what I want to do, travel, spend time with my girlfriend, my family, and just have fun. Because I know that basically my mentality is I'm going to work hard no matter what at everything, and the money will come eventually. It's just a matter of time before like my multi-million-dollar idea is coming up, but right now I'm not really making much money. So
no, well, that's good. You're having fun. You're doing what you like right now, and you do have that freedom, which I think a lot of people have that as one of their whys, to be able to not have to sit in a corporate cube and to be able to do what they want and have the freedom to live the life that they want to live. And I think that's one of a lot of people's goals, mine included, and one of the whys why I do what I do. So I can certainly empathize with that, and I get excited when I hear people with that similar type attitude and desires. So, flipping houses is really big these days. You've got everything from really iced ice babies out there trying. And now I think you're
forgot about him.
Yeah, you're kind of the hot baby right now, I think. And it's all over the news, and the HGTV and several of the other shows are just coming out of the woodwork. And it's a good thing to do. I personally thought about it, but I just don't have the skills nor the patience to do the things that you guys do, or at least the actual contractors do. I usually hire out for people to do work on my house and my cars and things like that. But if people wanted to do that sort of thing. If they wanted to flip houses, whether it was to get in it to be a business or just to make some extra money, do that. What are 3 of the top tips that you would give to somebody to take action on, achieving that type of a goal?
Well, if someone wants to flip houses and they do have a full-time job, the number one tip I would definitely say is you have to organize your time wisely. When I listened to, like I said before, Jeff Sanders' 5 a.m. Miracle, I realized how important it was to get up early in the morning. And even though I wasn't a morning person, I just organized my time as best I could. So I had to take phone calls while I was at work, and sometimes call an agent and be like, hey, what's going on this property? What's going on here? And I had to use the time at night when I got home to study and absorb. I was in law school when I started learning about house flipping. This is almost 4 or 5 years ago when I started my education. So it certainly takes a long time, but you have to organize your time wisely, use your commute. You have to use your time at night, stay up late, just forget your sleep, because if you really want to relieve yourself from that corporate environment, I was willing to do anything at that point. So I stayed up late. You do have to balance and have a good work-life balance, spending time with your family, but creating new time blocks throughout the day. I think a lot of us have been guilty of scrolling through our social media feed or watching YouTube. So I think really putting your phone on silent, checking your text and your email in batches when it's convenient for you. Also overlapping. So overlapping your time blocks. Say you have to meet with an agent and really understand your market better. So networking with agents, if you write that down on your list of things to do, you definitely have to start doing that early. So make some phone calls. If you have to leave a couple of voicemails, do it on Monday or Tuesday. And so that equity is built throughout the week, and then people are calling you back. So while you're studying your real estate investing, you've put those messages out there in the space, in the internet, to be able to get messages back. So that equity is you're always on your email, you're always sending messages, and you're always communicating via social media, because those messages will just keep coming back to you. And while you're waiting for that, it's kind of like, I put it as overlapping, kind of like doing the laundry, throw a load of laundry in, throw a load of dishes in, then clean the rest of the house. Right. So yeah, so all those, all that equity that you've built in those tasks is kind of coming back to you. So the number one thing I would definitely say is network with other contractors, other lenders, other agents in your area. Kind of understand what a good price to pay is in certain areas, and always start. I've gone over 3 tips for sure, but I'll try to start understanding what a good price to pay in your market. What a house is supposed to look like. And I actually do think that my path is unconventional. I think most people start off real estate investing with a rental, and I think that's actually the smartest way to go, because you understand what the house buying process is about, what a good price is, what mortgage, everything that is packaged into your mortgage, how escrow works, all that stuff, you'll understand better by picking up a rental before you start flipping. So everybody has their own path, but that's a good gist of tips for people, I think.
Those are great ones. So I've got, just to boil it down into at least 3 highlights here, is organize your time wisely. A lot of things you talked about there, a lot of great value bombs that you gave. Network with others in the industry to learn about the market, learn about what pricing is and things like that, and understanding the market itself and pricing, and maybe starting out with a rental, because I would, as a former landlord and homeowner who turned into a rental, I learned very quickly that I did not want to do that sort of activity where I had to worry about taking care of the plumbing and things at 3 a.m. on a weekend and things like that. So yeah, that is definitely something I would recommend, or at least, again, I'm not in the business, but I learned a lot that I didn't want to get into that particular part of the flipping part in my life. So I think those are some great values that you offered there. So thank you very much on that.
Yeah, it was hard. There's a lot I could have gone into, but as far as house flipping, that's a good place to start.
Excellent. Now, you probably had very few, I'm sure, with your high energy and your action-oriented behavior that you had. But can you tell me one of the biggest failures that you've had, and what was the biggest lesson that you learned from it?
To tell you the truth, when you sent me these questions to kind of prepare for this interview, this was really the only one that I had trouble kind of thinking about and writing down. I mean, yeah, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs' failures are kind of tied into the stuff that they didn't do rather than the stuff that they did do.
Right.
So like, it took me a long time to quit my job. I mean, I worked there for like 2 years, and I still found it hard to relieve myself from that corporate environment.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I came into work every day and I was just like, oh, what am I doing? Like January 2014, Jared was like disappointed in December 2013, Jared. And like, it was just like, man, like another month of this, like, what am I doing? And like, I tried being like crafting a plan around quitting. Like, I got to be able to make money on the side. I got to be able to support my mortgage and my life. And it was scary. So I would say like fear is a huge motivator for people, whether or not you have a full-time job, like that fear of not making any money and just being limited financially. You get to see the other side of that when you're on your own and you're trying to make money up for yourself and network with other people who are much more well-connected and have more money than you. So fear of quitting really prevented me from quitting a long time. Like I should have quit way longer ago than I did. But I mean, for anyone who's listening that has like a pretty good job, like not that they're happy with, but like financially, it's hard to let go of that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard to let go of that certainty that like, oh, I can save X amount of dollars per month. I can go on vacation a couple times a year. My family has no financial worries, whatever. And certainly everybody's at a different spot in their life where if you're 25, you work a night shift, your life's totally different than someone who's in their mid 40s and who has 2 kids and who has parents who are aging. I mean, these are real life, things that, I mean, I don't really have to deal with because I guess I'm 28 and I don't have a family yet, but it's tough. So I would say my biggest failure is not quitting my job earlier. I certainly think that there are so many things that you can do with your law degree. I mean, if I was working in criminal defense or if I was working at a plaintiff's firm or something, I think I would be a lot happier helping people and really making a difference because that's what I want to do. I want to make a difference in this world. And I was not able to do that drafting mineral title opinions. So. Right. That's really it. You know, I should have quit earlier.
Gotcha. Okay. That's very valid. Again, I wouldn't, like I said, it'd be hard to call that a failure, but it's just things that you probably wish you'd have done sooner, and I can understand that. So that's great. No, that's enlightening for a lot of people that, you know, are in that same boat and thinking about that. Should I quit or should I not? I think it really depends on the person, but, you know, we don't want to get into an analysis paralysis when we're starting to think about what we want to do with goals and things like that.
Sure.
Sometimes we can draw into a long term of just thinking about it and never getting things done. So I can see that. I actually had a similar situation when I had an opportunity when I became a consultant years ago. You know, it was between deciding, well, do I stay until I get my bonus or do I wait? And ended up my bonus wasn't worth the time of waiting. So
sure.
I should have just jumped. So
yeah, Tony, if I may interject, I have a really good strategy for people who are actually, if you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking of quitting your job, something that I did do at work, luckily I'm not working there anymore, so I can say this, but I think if you're thinking of jumping into entrepreneurship and you have a full-time job, try the thing that I don't think I've heard of this anywhere, but I definitely think, and I'm not copywriting it, I'm not patenting this or anything. You have to practice quitting. And the way you practice quitting is you tell your boss, I'm taking a personal day. You have to say it like 30 days in advance or however long. Just say like whatever, May 1st. If it's I would do it on a Monday or Tuesday. You tell your family, hey, I'm taking a personal day today. I just need 24 hours. And what you need to do in this, if you're practicing quitting, you need to see how much work you can get done in 24 hours. You need to see what it's like on your own with nothing to think about. Have all your bills paid, have all your kids in it. I don't know. People keep their kids during the day, most likely at their house, but have no distractions.
Right.
Go to the library if you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, work on yourself. Try to work on a business for 24 hours straight and grind for 19 or 20 hours and sleep the other 4 or 5. It's really, really tough. But if you get to see what it's like, either you'll have such an amazing inspiration from it, or you'll realize like, oh, there's no way I can do this. So it's a really good way. You'll have one, if you have PTO, that's great. You'll have one of those days out. But that was what I actually did. And this is the first time on a podcast I think I've actually got to preach that. So, welcome to your goal-getting listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's a very enlightening and, value bomb, as I've heard put in many other podcasts. Practice quitting. I know there are many people out there that, are working on goals, and that's really one of their ultimate goals, is to be able to quit the corporate grind and get out there and work for themselves, to be entrepreneurial. And I never actually thought about in that term of practice quitting. I've actually done that before, but that the way you're talking, but I've never thought of it as practicing quitting and in that kind of a mentality, or that kind of a thought process. And that's, I think, is very valuable, and I might take that up myself.
You should try it.
I hope my boss isn't listening, but
it's okay. He doesn't have to.
That's
you don't have to tell him about this.
That's right. No, but it's a very good practice, I think, to do that. So, folks, if you're wanting to get a taste of what it's like to get those hours and own those hours in that day, practice quitting. Take that personal day and do it like you would a business and how you would work for yourself, and see what you can get done. I like that. I had heard you talk about a similar thing on another podcast about, being able to spend that much time on your own and owning that time, and that makes a big difference in what you do. So I appreciate you offering that today.
Absolutely.
Now, if you were to believe in quotes and motivational type of things, do you have a quote that hangs on your wall, and what would that quote be?
Well, for all those people who are listening who know me or friends with me, I'm not much for being organized or really having that much stuff. I have my law degree. It's kind of leaning up against the wall right now, and there's like a poster board in front of it. I don't hang anything on my wall. But I would definitely say that I have a lot of quotes, but I came across one, I think it was actually on Instagram the other day. I know you see people put like inspirational quotes up, and it's kind of just like a motif for people who are trying to push their business and communicate with people. One of those I saw, it said, this isn't exact, but it said something like, the only important thing, or the most important thing, is the 24 hours ahead of you. And I find now, especially, that that's completely and utterly true. People who are growing and starting a business right now who are listening, either you just get so caught up in the day-to-day, like planning ahead. What do we look like 3 months down the line? Or what are like the big goals? It is important to step back, but it's also important to prioritize in a short term. Make a list of what you absolutely have to get done in that day. Make a list of what you probably should get done, and then make a list of stuff that's like personal, like laundry or bills or whatever. Attack the most important things first. And you just have to crush your day, like destroy it. I mean, I saw I can't believe it's been this late in my entrepreneurial career for me to discover people like Gary Vaynerchuk, but I saw him do you know what I'm talking about? The make Monday morning your bitch video.
I don't think I've seen that one yet. No.
He's on the corner of a street in New York City, and he was just like, just the utter insanity of people being lazy. Like, you have this, you're so lucky to be alive. The odds of your mom and dad having sex at a certain point to where like you're just like the odds of you actually being alive and being above age 20 or 30 and like being on this earth, like you have to just destroy, like make Monday morning your bitch. That's basically what that's basically what the premise of the video was. And it's so important to just attack your day with tenacity and just like not let anyone get in your way, not really care what anyone thinks. So focus on the 24 hours ahead of you. Don't necessarily focus broad perspective all the time, and just crush your day.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Taking action and doing the steps that you need to do are critical to achieving your goals and getting the goals you set. Just amazed at, I do a lot of commuting back and forth from my house to the office, and just to see the people that are just kind of mindlessly moving through the day with no intention or whatever is just amazing. And of course, here in San Francisco, we have those who have checked out already that are just kind of hanging around the streets. But, I'm going to have to watch that. That's Gary Vaynerchuk. Make
Gary
Monday
Vaynerchuk.
Morning, make Monday morning your bitch. I'll have to check that out. And hopefully I don't have to go with explicit lyrics on this call. But
oh, you know what's really funny, Tony? You know what's really funny, and I hope you keep this in this podcast. I had to label one of my episodes, I think it was episode 1, as explicit because someone said someone said a bad word, basically. Right. And I wanted to keep it in there because it was such a good quote. Like, I was on the phone with somebody, one of my friends, and he said, "Oh, you know what? You're quitting your job." And like, it was profound. I'm like, whatever, keep it in there. That has been like the episode with the highest downloads by and large, by far.
Yeah, it's the first one. I don't know why. It's the first one I listened to.
Yeah.
So if you, do you have books that you read? Do you have motivational books or a book that meant something to you? What is your favorite book you would recommend to somebody who's trying to achieve their goals, whether it be house flipping or becoming a lawyer or whatever their goal is? What is your favorite book that you like to read that has inspired you?
Well, I'm going to give one quick book that I recommend to entrepreneurs, and then I'm also going to give my recommendation for you. Buy Your Own Island is a book by Danny Flood. It kind of has a 4-hour workweek-ish tone to it, but I definitely recommend reading that. But the book I'm going to recommend for your listeners is, if you haven't read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I just read it again for like the second time. And it is so valuable to really understand perspective in trying to build a business and trying to grow a business, to understand that nobody's perfect and that you're going to have to be just really, really aggressive and just relentless, to be able to start a business. Because Napoleon Hill, I mean, the book's written in 1937. It's updated for nowadays, but you get to understand how people like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford just were Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before he got the electric light bulb to work. Henry Ford was, tenacious in his, focus on building an 8-cylinder engine block. And every single time people kept coming back to him and said, "We can't do it." He just said, "Do it." He just kept saying, "Do it." So Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, just hearing perspectives from guys like Andrew Carnegie, who built U.S. Steel from the ground up. He didn't know anything about the steel industry. The book teaches you how you can purchase other people's knowledge. And even though I'm an attorney, I have to purchase people's knowledge every day. I started a podcast. I had to get a logo done. And as well as I do, I had to pay for the education to start the podcast. And so Andrew Carnegie, I think in a similar format, crafted U.S. Steel in the 1800s by purchasing other people's knowledge with political influence and other people who had a lot more money than him. But he understood how to put people together, and he understood how to grow a business, but he didn't know anything actually about making steel. So when he sold to J.P. Morgan for, I think, like $450 or $490 million in the early 1900s, that's like a $200 billion sale nowadays. Yeah. I mean, that is like the value of the book, and you'll read it more than once. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it is a good book. It's one of my favorites, and recently it's kind of interesting because I just read it again myself. I read it many years ago and read it just probably last month. So you will read it over and over again. I actually got it on audiobook and listen to it now when I'm doing my commute periodically, when I need that extra jump in energy to learn and get excited about the entrepreneurial lifestyle. So yeah, great book. Napoleon Hill's excellent author, and he's actually got a couple great books out, and Think and Grow Rich is by far one of the most popular and something that you have to have in your library, I think, if you're an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jared, that's a great recommendation. Let's break out here and tell the audience about a great offer that we have from audible.com, where they could pick up a free copy of the Think and Grow Rich book on audiobook from audible.com. Hi, goal getters. I know you like to get your information by audio, and for you, the listeners of Goal Getting Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you opportunity to check out their service. Jared mentioned a couple of great books today, one of which I had to have on audiobook, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a true classic book that should be in every entrepreneur's library. It's so easy to plug in your headphones and listen to a great book while you are commuting, walking, working out, or just relaxing on the deck of your just-achieved dream home enjoying the view. To download your free audiobook today, go to goalgettingbook.com. Again, that's goalgettingbook.com for your free audiobook. As we get through middle of 2015. What are the top 3 goals that you have for this year? I know I overheard you in one of your other interviews saying you've got a lot of things in the fire that you're thinking about and planning on, but do you have 3 top goals, and you can abbreviate them as much as you want here, but what are 3 of the goals that you have going forward this year?
I definitely, one of the goals I had this year was to start a podcast about my real estate investing, and I've already done that. Right. And I think it's important, if just throwing another quote there, imperfect action is better than no action at all. I'm sure you've heard it before. You have to just start. And I just started the podcasting thing, and it's not perfect because I definitely do like a live narrative podcasting, which is a lot different from a lot of other podcasting models out there. So it's a little tough for me, to be able to be perfect. So I just said, whatever, I'm going to start. So I started my podcast. I wanted to amp up my house flipping, but I also got into I want to start and grow a side business for myself that has my name on it. And I don't know if I'm doing something that has to do with like real estate crowdfunding or dealing with other crowdfunding sites. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm very knowledgeable about that part of real estate investing, and it's kind of hot right now. So I want to start and grow a side business, and that might be something I'm looking at. I looked at something with craft beer. I have no idea. I have some connections with some people. It's really all about who you know. But so those are things that I haven't had enough equity in to really talk about yet. And then I guess one of my goals this year was to play in a World Series poker event, and that is coming true in about a month.
I was going to ask about that. I'd heard a little rumor that was one of your goals this year, and I love playing poker, and I'm not quite good enough to get into the World Series of Poker yet, but I do enjoy playing. What is that something you've been doing for a while, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing poker since freshman year of college. I learned to play online poker, and I've gone through waves of playing a ton of online poker and not playing for almost a year at a time. But because I've been so focused on either getting my law degree or passing the bar, I mean, studying for the bar exams, 3 months straight of studying. So I can't do anything else. But I now have the time, a little bit of time to play poker. And I was in Vegas about 2 months ago. If you Google it, you can see that I placed second in a poker tournament.
Oh, wow.
It was like, it took forever. I didn't even get to hang out with my friends because I went to Vegas and played poker the whole time. But anyways, it was something I wanted to do because there was a cheaper event. I mean, it's like less than $1,000, and it's supposed to be the biggest poker tournament ever. So if there's 15, 20,000 people playing in a tournament, I figured, whatever, I'm just going to go there. If I bust out and early, I'll still have a good time. So going to Vegas at the end of May.
All right. Sounds like fun. Well, let's keep in touch. I want to find out how you do and go from there. So tell the audience, how can we keep in touch with you to learn more about your podcast, your flipping, the rest of your exploits that you're doing? Is there something that they can go to learn more about you?
Yeah, well, my social media links are all on my website. It's flipjl.com. So my podcast is called Flip. If you just search Flip on iTunes, it's that little green icon. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jared Lichtin. And again, all the links are on flipjl.com. So if you want to follow me personally, like stuff that has to do with poker, house flipping, just being a general stupid risk taker that I am, you can follow me on Twitter. I'll post anything on there now. And my Facebook page, check out my Facebook page and like it. It's the Flip Podcast. If you just type in Flip Podcast on Facebook, you can find it. And I'm pretty sure that's about it. Check out my podcast, Flip. If you want to learn more about house flipping, the premise of my podcast is you get to follow me through one investment. I'm flipping a house right now in Akron, Ohio. So basically I live tweet, live podcast my way through my investment. I post pictures on my website. So you can follow me through my investment, and also kind of we handhold each other as a community through real estate investing and learning about it. So I also have people I bring on and interview, professional house flippers, professional lenders, agents, whatever. I bring these people on my show and interview them. So you get to learn while you kind of do. So it's kind of real live interactive real estate investing, as I like to put it. So that's my podcast, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and flipjl.com.
Hey, Jared, are there any words of wisdom that you have for the goal-getting audience today that you can offer?
Be a risk taker and do not care what anybody thinks.
Jared, thank you so much for participating and being on Goal Getting Podcast today. I have learned a lot, and I want to thank you and congratulate you on achieving and getting some of the goals you've set. And going forward, look forward to hearing about those achievements as well.
Thanks so much, Tony.
Thank you, Jared, for being on Goal Getting Podcast. And folks, if you enjoyed having Jared on the show today, if you like having interviews like that with people who might be doing or involved in a potential job change that you're trying to get into, or something that you have a goal that you're trying to achieve, if you'd like to have a guest like that, or if you enjoy having the guests like that, please go to our show notes page at goalgettingpodcast.com, episode 12, and leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about having guests on the show like Jared. I've got several more planned for you, people that can help you, achieve the goals that you have that you want to, achieve. They've got ideas, things that may be able to help you. We're looking at, if you've got a fitness goal or a weight loss goal, having a personal trainer, a nutritionist, something along that line on the show to help you. But I hope you enjoyed Jared today. If you would go to, iTunes and let me know on there what you thought of the show in the rating and review. If you want to go to the Goal Getting Podcast episode 12 show notes, use the comments section there. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I do value your feedback and look forward to hearing from you. Again, it's been a wonderful time. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Have a great day. Come back and see us next week when we'll have hopefully another guest for you on the show. Have a great week. And if there's anything I can do for you, please get in touch with me on our Facebook page, facebook.com/goalgettingpodcast. You can also find me on Twitter at @goals podcast for the show, or my personal @Tony WCMB is my handle on Twitter. So look forward to hearing from you. Have a great week.